We are underway this evening with the ball back to Ben Turner, who knocks it long in the direction down the right-hand side of Wootton. It falls to Enzio, whose touch isn't the best, and he immediately concedes possession. But just like that, Dagenham and Redbridge do likewise. Turner's back on the ball again, approaches the halfway line, looks to step out of defence and finds Zamana Bakayoko. I think will have done well tonight to see 100 away supporters in the Jimmy Cyril stand, which holds about 3,000 or 4,000. A few players slipping in the early stages of this game. We played 30 seconds. I've seen 3 players slip already as the ball goes high into the night sky. And first kind of properly cold. It's starting to feel cold on these midweek games now, and it is a chilly evening down by the banks of the River Trent at Meadow Lane. These two teams haven't met since 2016. They've met 10 times in total between 2007 and 2016. The last meeting was here at the Lane, and it finished 0-0 in the March 3 years ago. They've met 5 times at Meadow Lane, with just the 1 defeat coming from those 5 games. Long ball forward from Dagenham and Redbridge up towards the edge of the Notts penalty area. It goes over the top of all of the yellow shirts, all of the black and white shirts, and Conor Rawlinson will let the ball roll out on the near side for a Notts throw. And what's going to be key tonight, Mark Stallard, for Notts County to get something out of this game? Yeah, well, no different to any game. When you start at home, you want to start first 10-15 minutes lively, set the tempo, try and dictate the pace, and Notts having the first foray forward with the ball through Sean Shields. Yeah, Shields just trying to stab it with the outside of his right boot through into the inside right channel for Wes Thomas to run onto, but hit the back of the heels of Onoriesi, the former West Ham Academy player, and they clear away briefly, but now it's up in the direction of Kyle Wootton once more, and a bit of miscommunication between him and Thomas, his strike partner on that occasion, as Wootton nodded the ball into the penalty area around the penalty spot, and Thomas was looking for the layoff really on the edge of that 18-yard box. Yeah, getting on the front foot is what I was going to say. That's what you want to do at home. Set the tempo, really lay a marker down, get the opposition thinking they're going to be in for a long night, and get them sitting deeper and deeper right from the start of the game. Two teams both set up in a very obvious 4-4-2 formation right at the start. Well, it's Dagenham and Redbridge who've got the ball down the right-hand side, and forgive me if, as the night passes, I just start to refer to them as Dagenham. Here they come, down the right-hand side they go, inside that right channel, but it's good defending back there from Regan Booty, who was matching Odometi stride for stride, though Notts in the process have conceded the first corner of the game. We've played nearly 3 minutes, still goalless, but first chance for them to pile the big men forward. The biggest of them is Onoriesi, who stands 6'4", and tall and gangly centre-half makes his way into the penalty area now, and he's picked up by the equally big but slightly broader refrigerator-shaped gentleman that is Ben Turner. Here comes the ball into the 18-yard box. It's flicked away by Bakayoko and out onto this near side. Referee gets in the way for a brief moment. It's with Robinson, who's dispossessed, and Enzio gets there now down the right, gives it to Wes Thomas, and Notts, for just the briefest of moments, could perhaps think about mounting a counter-attack, but another slip from this time Wes Thomas sees them put the brakes on, and Notts will instead recycle it out from right to left as Mitch Thomas's drifted ball, which was initially applauded by the Magpie supporters here in attendance, just goes an inch or two in front of the extended left toe of Bakayoko and drifts out for a throw-in on the far side for the Daggers. Yeah, nice idea by Mitch Rose, trying to switch the play. Just unfortunately the execution, as you say, just half a yard in front of Bakayoko. Couldn't take it in his stride, where he had 10-15 yards in front of him maybe to make inroads into that Dagenham defence, but unfortunately just too much weight on the pass from Mitch Rose. Brindley drifts the ball up over the top beyond everybody, not a good angle to the pass either, and that's going to run out on the far side for a Dagenham throw-in about 10 or 15 yards up the line on the far side in front of a largely empty Jimmy Cyril stand, where they'll have a throw. It does seem to be quite a greasy surface out there this evening, and a number of players, as I say, have taken a tumble already in the opening 4 minutes. It's match night on BBC Radio Nottingham. Well, we'll keep you across what's going on in the EFL Trophy, which has got a new name this season. I've almost tried not to commit it to memory, but unfortunately it's gone in there. It's called the Leasing.com Trophy this season. Mansfield have got crew. They made 10 changes for that one this evening of the Stags, and Jake Garner is at Field Mill. We'll cross to him in about 5 minutes or so. Mitchell Rose on the ball, centre of defence, gives it to Rawlinson to the right. Not the best of balls into the back of Wes Thomas, but slightly over-eager tackle from Odometi in the middle of midfield, barges into the back of Notts number 7 and down he goes. They have a free kick which they take quickly. It's with Shields, who's in for Osborne tonight. 5 on the clock, gives it to Rose. Now to Baldwin, cutting in onto his left-hand side. He's going to shoot with the left foot and draws a save out of the goalkeeper down to his right-hand side. It was a comfortable save, but on a greasy surface like this, they might as well shoot.
Exactly, yeah. Good effort early on from Enzio, testing the keeper out, hit the target. That's the main thing. But in that build-up there, you saw Sean Shields and Enzio. Sean Shields is starting on the left, Enzio on the right, but both tucked in off the line in them little pockets of space in behind the front two. And it eventually fell to Enzio, getting the ball on his less favoured left foot, but getting a decent strike away all along this greasy surface, and just asking questions of Elliot Justum, the Dagenham goalkeeper and skipper.
He's got 4 clean sheets to his name this season, does the Daggers goalkeeper, but 3 of those have come in the last 4. Used to be at Luton. We've played 6 minutes. Regan Booty's on the ball for the Magpies out towards the left-hand side. Now to Shields, tries to play it to Wootton down the left channel. He slips as well, make it 5 players that have gone backside over breast already. And it's with Justin, who will play it along towards halfway. Balanta flicking it into the path of Quigley. He's no shrinking violet himself, stands well over 6 foot, the Irishman, who's got 4 goals to his name already this season. He's had more clubs than a golfer. Recently been at Havant and Waterlooville, Bromley, Newport, Gillingham, Torquay, and the list will go on. It's with Mitch Rose, middle of the Dagenham half. He tries to get away from 2 or 3 yellow shirts and is briefly dispossessed, but the ball deflects into the path of another Notts player. It's now with Enzio, who's in the middle of the park, gives it to Shields. Both of the wingers, as Neil Ardley likes to have, are playing quite narrow. With Enzio once more on the left-hand side, back heels it to Booty, gives it back towards Enzio on his favoured right foot, cuts across the 18-yard box, flicks a shot goalwards, but he was getting nudged off balance and so lost all the power and drew another save out of the keeper.
Yeah, with a warm round of applause from the Meadow Lane faithful, watching that good build-up play, good patient play by Notts, good passing on the surface. It's slick, isn't it? We say a slippy, wet surface, and Notts moving the ball fairly quickly there. Eventually fell to Enzio, who'd found himself on the left-hand side, was able to cut inside, and decent defending from the Dagenham defender, just leant on him as he was about to take his shot, maybe put him off balance, and his shot consequently had no power in it. But good build-up play, good patience, right sort of start for Notts.
Are they playing on ice?
Well, we mentioned it before, haven't we, how many times players are losing their footing, but I don't want to sound like the granddad, but I know managers that would be going absolutely ballistic about blades. Not having long studs in.
It's for Bakayoko on the left wing with nearly 8 minutes on the clock here at Meadow Lane, where it remains goalless between Notts and Dagenham and Redbridge. It's Mitch Rose, who's playing that kind of Michael Doyle quarterback role this evening, and plays the ball out to the right-hand side and gets it back again. Now to Enzio, who's been involved early. It's keeping him involved, which is the tricky thing. Booty gives it away in a rather precarious position on the halfway line, and they come down the right-hand side with Alex McQueen. Little back heel to Will Wright, and Odomati will switch it across the defence. Gets a touch fortunate as it just about avoids Kyle Wootton, and it's with the Daggers in the middle of defence. Listening to Match Night on BBC Radio Nottingham. That's handball from Bagasan Graham. Named like that, sounds like he should have been in the Lord of the Rings. Out on this near touchline.
I was thinking you were going to struggle for any sort of puns about names tonight, but you've managed one.
Oh no, there's always room for a couple, I'm sure. It's with Brindley as they've taken the free kick early. Torquay, who come here on Saturday, they've got an early goal at Ebbsfleet, 1-0 there. Meanwhile, Wrexham are a goal up at home against Harrogate. As I say, the EFL Trophy taking place this evening. And we shall keep you across what's going on at Field Mill, where Mansfield are taking on Crewe. Goalless here, 9 on the clock, and Ben Turner's the man with the ball. Finds Shields, who continues to tuck in off of that far touchline, which allows the fullbacks to then go wide and try to offer that overlap and that width. There's very little pressure being put on the middle of the Notts defence at the moment, so it does allow them that luxury. As Booty stepping into the middle of defence and then trying to find Wes Thomas in between the lines, but plenty of yellowy golden shirts back as Rawlinson is forced back to Slocum, who switches it out to Bakayoko on the left-hand side, and that's neat football, and it's applauded as a result by the Cop. 10 on the clock with Booty.
Yeah, we've just seen 10 minutes gone, haven't we? And I think you can see already, you know, the task at hand for Notts and quite why. Dagenham don't concede many goals, and certainly not away from home. 4 goals conceded in 7 games. They have got 2 definite banks of 4. The front 2 working hard, but 2 very tight, narrow banks of 4. And that's the question. If Notts go on, if you're going to play through us, go on. It's going to have to be good, and your touch is going to have to be good, and the movement's going to have to be even better.
A few optimistic appeals there from the Notts supporters for handball against the Dagenham goalkeeper on the edge of his penalty area. I think he probably did just about enough to stay inside the lines. Rose does well, switches it out to the right-hand side where Richard Brindley's got loads of space, gives it to Enzio further down that right wing, and Brindley still offers him some support. Enzio draws 2 men. Brindley with a cross into the 18-yard box is headed away by Onoriesi, and all the way out on the near side for a Notts throwing. Good start for the Magpies, but as yet a couple of tame efforts at goal, nothing more to trouble the Dagenham number 1.
No, but it's the sort of start you want. They're dominating possession, they're keeping Dagenham sort of pinned back in their own half, moving the ball fairly well. Richard Brindley, as I say, just putting a decent ball in from the right hand side. Unfortunately, nobody really on the move for Notts to put a challenge in. But it looks like a night where there's got to be a bit of patience involved, because Dagenham are sitting very definitely 8 men behind the ball all the time, 2 banks of 4, and very narrow as well. So it's down to Notts. Notts have got to move the ball quickly, transition the ball from right to left, switch the play if they can to create overloads on the opposite side to where the ball is.
11 minutes on the clock here. Goal kick for Dagenham as they clear it up towards the halfway line and beyond, and Ben Turner will head it away. Falls to Wes Thomas. Thomas on the halfway line, dances past one man, tries to keep the ball in and does. Now Mitch Rose goes down, losing possession, but Balanta's touch is poor, and it goes eventually all the way back in the direction of Sam Slocum. Rawlinson will recycle it, and we'll check in with Jake at Fieldmill for the first time this evening and say good evening, sir. Thank you, Jake. You've missed Nount here, apart from a couple of poor passes from both teams. Notts are in possession again, and as you already alluded to, Mark Stallard, you can see a very definite and clear pattern already developing in the early stages of this game, and that is that Dagenham have come here and they are going to get something out of this by hook or by crook, and they'll sit 8, 9, 10 players behind the ball if that means necessary. Yeah,
and that's the definition of an organised team, isn't it? You know, that we said it before the start, so a manager of Peter Taylor's experience is going to have them trained and you know, practiced in that art of 2 banks of 4, make sure the gaps between the lines and between each combination of player and your next man is not too big, don't allow the opposition space to play, and squeeze the game. Now, as a consequence, Notts are having, I would say, 80% possession, but the majority of it's been in areas that Dagenham will be relatively comfortable with having them, giving them that possession. So it's down to Notts to really, I'd say, be patient, wait for the opportunity, try and move the ball sharply enough to create them opportunities. But it's got a little bit of an air of a sort of training session about it at the minute, attack against defence. It
is allowing Notts to knock the ball around quite nicely at times, though they'll have to be careful not to kind of get lulled into a false sense of security as they continue to have so much possession, so much play with the ball, that they don't get hit on the counter-attack, as perhaps as the game continues in this manner, Dagenham look to risk maybe going out and trying to nick one. Ben Turner on the ball once more. They're unbeaten in their last 11 games, are the Daggers, which means they've not lost since their 4th game, going all the way back to the 13th of August. That was a 3-0 defeat at home against Boreham Wood. You just wonder how on earth you get a result like that when we've seen Boreham Wood and now we're seeing Dagenham. but that is very much the nature of the National League. Enzio Baldwin picking up plenty of space inside the Dagenham half, tries to slip a ball through that inside channel once more down the right, but intercepted, and Knox immediately win it back. It's with Conor Rawlinson out to the right-hand side to Rich Brindley. We've played 15 minutes here now at the Lane. It remains goalless. 1-0 to Barnet though against Bromley, 1-0 to Barrow against Boreham Wood. Thoughts with anybody from Boreham Wood who's made that journey this evening, and perhaps maybe in work tomorrow. And Torquay is still a goal up at Ebbsfleet, which is no short journey either. Wrexham are 1-up against Harrogate, and Yeovil 1-up against Woking. Mitch Rose very nearly caught in possession in a dangerous area on the halfway line, but he does just enough to get himself between ball and man and keep hold of the ball. It's with Ben Turner now, who's taking his time, almost dithering a bit on the ball on the halfway line. He plays one down the left-hand side and it's easily cut out, and then Zamana Bakayoko takes one in the face, I think, on the far side, and he's gone down in a heap, or perhaps in another equally painful part of the body. He's a long way away from us, I should point out. My vision's not
I
that
think
bad.
he took that a bit lower than his face.
I just saw him...
The way he's doubled over on the floor.
I just saw him flop to the ground. You're laughing at. And I thought...
Yeah.
Maybe he's been knocked out or something like that. Took a sore one to the head, but by the by, he's down. And
took a sore one to the head, maybe not the optimum phrase, but yeah, got one in the midriff.
Yeah, that's it. So Zoom's still down. There'll be no zooming for the time being, and
but it's an example of what's going on. I'll change the subject.
I'll have a chat, baby.
Yeah, what we've seen so far is a very technical start to the game, and it's almost going to be a case we've just heard, fans near us saying shift it quicker, and in a way they're right, but you can't go forcing it. You can't go. It might be a night where Notts have to be patient, move the ball, keep possession, still probing, still looking to break through, but if the space and the opportunity isn't there, then you have to retain possession, go out the other side and have a look there, because believe me, first 10 or 15 minutes Dagenham will be organised. It's easy when your lungs are fresh and you're fresh into the game. As the game goes on, your concentration drops, when your fitness level drops, and then you might just get a few more opportunities. It's very much more difficult to chase the ball when you haven't got it than it is when you're in possession.
17 minutes on the clock. Zoom's okay, he's back on and walking with a bit of a limp, but he'll be fine. And Notts are in possession once more. Mitch Rose on the halfway line, back to Ben Turner and out in the direction of Bakayoko. Closed down immediately on the far side by former Spurs Academy player Alex McQueen. Rawlinson plays it away, long and up over the top, easily dealt with by the Dagenham defenders. It falls to Brindley. Brindley goes back to Turner once more, and Notts continues to try to work the ball forward along the ground. Still with plenty of possession through the first 18 minutes of this game, although that's one way to lose possession pretty swiftly. Ben Turner knocks a long straight ball, which is always going to skip up off of this surface and almost gather pace, and it goes behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, that's it, and that's what I'm talking about, when sometimes you keep possession for a bit, as Notts did there, 30-40 seconds, plenty of passes but not really going anywhere, and eventually Ben Turner just maybe losing a bit of patience, trying to force a 50-yard ball, straight ball, and as you say, going to run off this pitch because it's that greasy.
It's still goalless here at Meadow Lane as Dagenham play one long and up over the top and straight through to the goalkeeper, but there has been a goal at Field Mill. Jake. Thank you very much, Jake. Barrow have doubled their lead at home against Boreham Wood, 2-0 there. Barnet 1, Bromley 0 still. It's 1-0 to Torquay still at Ebbsfleet, 1-0 to Solihull now at home against Sutton. As good working back from Wes Thomas, dispossesses Robinson in the middle of midfield, and he gets a 1-2. The ball back to him once more, just a touch slow on the uptake as it came back across to him, and then Mitch Rose's pass is exactly that as it goes out in the direction of Shields on the left wing, and it was intercepted. But the Magpies have the ball, played forward. Onoriesi cuts it out, and speaking of dithering, briefly dithers on the ball. McQueen gets there though, and it goes back in the direction of Wright, who clears it away and clears it out for a Notts throwing in Dagenham territory, I think, down the far side in front of what is probably now about 100, 110 Dagenham and Redbridge supporters. You'd think there would have been more of them, given that that's two clubs combined. See, it's not only you that can do the old jokes, Chippers. As Ben Turner has it for Notts on the halfway line. And Zamana Bakayoko cuts in, beats a man, and gives it to Mitch Rose. Middle of the half, switches it out to the right-hand side for Brindley. He's closed down pretty much immediately by Gordon back there. Enzio's there on the ball now, approaching the corner flag at the end of the stadium where the Hayden Green family stand meets with the Pavis. It's with Brindley, tries to switch it inside, shouts for handball against the Dagenham man back there, Bagasan Graham. But the referee's not interested, and they switch it now out from left to right. It's with McQueen, who's knocked a high cross towards the back post. Quigley nods it down. That is going to be a risk and an option, because Quigley is quite tall and he's peeled away there onto the much shorter Richard Brindley, and that'll be one for Notts to keep an eye on. Yeah, probably the first time we've seen Dagenham come out their own half and venture into the Notts penalty area in about 10 minutes? At least. They've not had many options forward. It's been Notts dictating the possession. So the reason for the low numbers travelling from Dagenham, not only the distance and the fact it's a Tuesday night, might be the fact that it's been such stoic fare when you watch Dagenham on the road. Yeah, they've drawn 3 of their last 4 games in all competitions, but 2 of those, in fact, 3 of those have been away from home. So with Brindley now, as he cuts forward, gives it to Shield, switching from right to left, and Shield will run the ball into Dagenham territory. He's immediately held up though. Bakayoko tries to make a tackle, but Notts are going to be caught in possession here with 21 minutes on the clock. Here come the visitors into the penalty area, shot goalwards. Keepers punched that out into a dangerous area where there were yellow shirts lurking, but Notts keep hold of it, and Brindley will look to clear it away with a long ball forwards up in the direction of their big target man, Kyle Wootton, who brings it down on his chest, gets away from one man and leaves it to the Dutchman Enzio Baldwin. That sort of target man play is applauded by the Notts faithful here in any weather, no matter what game. And it's with Bakayoko on the left-hand side. He's given the ball away again. That's twice on that far side that either he or Shields have contrived to lose possession for Notts. As Shields goes across and comfortably wins it back again. Not the biggest of lads is the Notts winger, but he nudges Will Wright to the ground as if he weren't even there. And the Magpies are back in possession once more, and Dagenham are putting all 11 men behind the ball once again as well. Yeah, that's it, and they're back in the shape as well quickly, aren't they? Dagenham, the minute they lose the ball, they all know to get back into their positions. I mean, it literally is like you were picking a team on a sort of a computer game, wasn't it, in a 4-4-2 formation. They're absolutely, almost rigidly perfect, and it's difficult for Notts to try and find space, try and move the ball quickly enough, but they're trying to do that now down the right-hand side. Yeah, a bit of space briefly with Rich Brindley. Now gives it to Rose. Rose into the feet of Thomas, edge of the penalty area, got a bit of space. He goes down and gets a free kick. It's maybe 2 yards outside of the penalty area and just to the right of centre on the edge of the D. Good opportunity for a shot at goal. I dare say maybe a touch too close if you're trying to get it up and down over a wall. Yeah, but it's a really good opportunity, isn't it? On a night like this as well, with a zippy surface, you don't necessarily always have to go up and over. Maybe it's a case of just hit the target, test the keeper out again, but good patience from Notts. You know, it really is a night for that. Can't emphasise that enough. Dagenham at this moment look really well drilled in what they're doing, trying to stifle the opposition. And on that occasion, Mitch Rose just playing a pass through the lines into Wes Thomas, who'd come into a little pocket of space on the edge of the box, and it's resulted in having his heels clipped and winning Notts this free kick just on the edge of the D. Well, Booty and Baldwin stand over the ball. Booty with the left foot, Baldwin with the right. 5-man wall in front of them. The beat of the drum from the Kop. It's Booty who's going to hit it and scores! Bends it into the bottom corner of the net. Regan Booty with his 2nd goal of the season. And it's a good job he did score it, because he'd have had a very unhappy Dutchman in his ear if he hadn't have done, because I think he might have nicked that away from Enzio. Doesn't matter. Notts 1. Dagenham and Redbridge 0. Yeah, fantastic. Just what Notts needed. Reward for their patience, their good play, the build-up. Just heard 1 or 2 shouts from the Notts fans, maybe just getting a little bit frustrated with Dagenham's tactics as much as anything. But a fantastic free kick from Regan Booty. Didn't go
up and over the wall, went with his left foot, bent it into the corner. In theory, you would look at the keeper. It's the keeper's side. It didn't go in the top corner. It went in, what, a couple of foot off the ground. But we don't care about that. It hit the back of the net, and now Peter Taylor's team have got to do something different. 1 goal behind, and is the game going to open up now and give Notts even more opportunity?
To be an absolute after-timer, I was looking at the wall thinking there's a lot of space around that far side of it, but, you know, the keeper will have that covered, I'm sure. Peter Taylor must be pretty angry with Elliot Justin, whose run of clean sheets is going to come to an end inside 25 minutes here at Meadow Lane this evening. So Mansfield are a goal up in the EFL Trophy against Crewe, and Notts are now a goal up against Dagenham and Redbridge here at Meadow Lane in the National League, as they look to go 4 unbeaten, giving the Cop cause to sing the wheelbarrow song away to our left-hand side.
Yeah, really good free kick from Regan Boutian. There's a long ball forward, looking for Kyle Wootton. He just managed to force a corner for Notts, but this is it now. What do Dagenham and Redbridge do? Notts can still be patient with the play. They don't have to force it. The away team now have got a decision about how they go about things.
Well, Notts have got a corner quickly after taking the lead, their first corner of the game, as we approach 26 minutes. This corner from the right-hand side, as we look at it in front of the Derek Pavis stand. Sean Shields will take a right-footed outswing. Not a bad ball, bounces on the edge of the 6-yard box after it was flicked away by the head of one of the Dagenham players back there. It's come all the way back towards Bakayoko, who's going to bend one back in. It's flicked on the edge of that 18-yard box by Enzio, and it nearly landed at the feet of Wootton, but instead it's gone behind for a goal kick. Yeah, you wonder what Dagenham will do now. Will they have to come out? Will it force them to be a bit more expansive and take a couple of risks? What should Notts do now? Should they just kind of go back to exactly what they were doing beforehand?
Exactly, Notts don't need to change. They've started really well. Now they've got the goal. You can say it's almost been a perfect start. They've dominated the possession. They have been patient. You know, they've not looked to try and force things where the gaps aren't there too much. And they've got their reward for it as well with that goal. The longer the game goes on, you know, as the away team, the mentality is, well, we'll frustrate them, frustrate the home crowd, and they start getting on at them, and things start getting forced. Now they've got the lead. Notts got to do exactly the same thing, keep moving the ball, and just, it's almost a game of cat and mouse, and think, well, at some stage Dagenham have got to push 1 or 2 more men forward, and that should leave spaces in behind for Notts to play through the lines again.
Notts get a bit lucky as Rich Brindley used his arm to control the ball right in front where Peter Taylor stands, and at 66 years young, he's just as passionate as he ever was, incredulous at the 4th official and the linesman that they didn't see that or say anything. And Notts are still in possession with 27 minutes gone. That's a nice pass from Rawlinson out to the left-hand side for Bakayoko, whose touch is just a touch out of his feet, but it's put out on the far side, and it's going to be a Notts throw that the Ivorian will take. He's got Wes Thomas in motion inside the penalty area, quite a lot of space for a moment as well, but he goes short, gets it back again. Now it finds the feet of Thomas, back to goal, turns away from his man, beats him into the penalty area. He goes onto his left foot. Now he reaches the byline, needs a bit of support, goes back up the line, and they get a bit lucky there to Notts, although that luck comes to an end as Dagenham blast the ball out on the far side for another throw-in.
Yeah, Wes Thomas did well initially, didn't he? It was a little bit similar to his goal here in the previous home game, where he received the ball down the other end in front of the Cop, back to goal, and then drove past 2-3 players and smashed the ball in. This time just on his left foot, his less favoured foot, opted to turn back out and try and retain possession.
Rawlinson in possession once more. The Welshman gives it to Turner, who's got Bakayoko out to that left-hand side. Booty just in field. It's Booty's first goal since the early stages down at Ebbsfleet, which I think was only his 2nd game for Notts. He obviously impressed so much on his debut at Harrogate on that plastic pitch on a Tuesday night. It was quite a pleasant night, that was, wasn't it? As far as Tuesday night away games go in the National League. Turner has it once more, plays the ball straight down that left-hand side. So it's going to be a tricky one this evening, trying to play the ball a touch too straight. In fairness, Bakayoko nearly gets on the end of that one, but you're asking a lot out of him to control that on the run. And if he doesn't control it, the ball's probably always going to win the race on this pitch this evening. Yeah,
exactly. A difficult skill that is, to control the ball dropping over your shoulder a straight line. And on that occasion, Bakayoko unable to do it. But again, Notts win the ball back. Not seen any change really from Dagenham so far. Still the 2 banks of 4. So again, Notts have just got to be patient. They've got the goal lead, still got to keep probing, passing. I say, wherever you've got the ball, it is hard work chasing it, and Dagenham certainly are going to have to chase it as this game goes on.
Notts are trying to cycle the ball from left to right because Brindley's in space on that right-hand side. Booty spotted it, and he's given it to the former Bromley man. Now with Rawlinson once more, who's had a run in the middle of defence now, which is what he needed. Thanks to the misfortune of others, he's now got a few games under his belt in quick succession. That seems to have helped him. He's settled into that role alongside Turner quite well, and it does give Notts great physicality in the middle of defence as well, because Turner's 6'4" and Rawlinson's about 6'2", 6'3". Here come Notts down the right-hand side. Poor ball from Brindley. Right idea, trying to find Wes Thomas down the right touch line, but it's gone out for a throw-in instead. We've played half an hour here. We're in the lead at Meadow Lane. Notts 1, Dagenham and Redbridge 0. Last time we checked in with Jake, it was Mansfield 1, Crewe 0. We'll check in with him again now with around 15 minutes to go until half-time. Thank you very much, Jake. Dagenham and Redbridge in possession here, playing the ball nicely in triangles through the middle of the midfield. Out onto the right-hand side, it's with McQueen. Forced back up the line by Shields and back into the middle where Robinson takes over. Used to be at Grimsby and Luton. Now plays it into the feet of McQueen. Finds Belanta, edge of the penalty area. Dinks it through to McQueen, who's offside. Ben Turner trying to make a last-ditch tackle as McQueen went through one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and I think a combination of he and Sam Slocum would have prevented a goal, but heart-in-mouth moment just for a second there.
Yeah, it's the most dangerous moment we've had from Dagenham and Redbridge. Just a lovely little dink ball, dink pass 2 or 3 yards beyond or between the two Notts County centre halves. And as you say, the Dagenham and Redbridge strike had just gone a yard too early. Linesman's flag came up. I think Ben Turner would have got enough of a toe there anyway to prevent any shot coming.
Dagenham and Redbridge piling men forward now in the last couple of minutes with a bit more readiness. It's Belanta who tries to find his strike partner Quigley at the back post, but it was easily headed away by Notts. They had 5 men forward. Those 5 men are still forward, lurking around the edge of the 18-yard box. Down the right-hand side goes might have been Oldham-80, but crossing the ball not really his strong suit as he now trots back into the middle of midfield. He's more of a battling midfielder rather than somebody who finds himself out in wide positions all that often. In the National League elsewhere this evening, Aldershot are beating Dover by a goal to 0. Barnet 1, Bromley 1. Barrow are 2-1 up at home against Boreham Wood. It's 1-1 between Eastleigh and Maidenhead. 2-0 to Torquay. At Ebbsfleet this evening, Torquay putting in a lot of miles this week. At Ebbsfleet, as I say, this evening at Meadow Lane on Saturday, but you know, it's kind of their fault for living in Torquay. 0-0 between Halifax and Chorley. 1-0 here between Notts and Dagenham as Connell Rawlinson lunges into a tackle, half slips, half lunges, and looks a bit reckless, that, and the referee Samuel Barrett is calling the Welshman over to have a quick word with him. I think he might just get away with a warning, and perhaps the referee giving him the benefit of the doubt given the greasy surface here this evening. Yeah,
I think Connell Rawlinson goes away with just a talking to. I think he's a little bit lucky. The referee's been a little bit lenient in this day and age. He went through everything, Rawlinson. There was a little bit of stop-start play, wasn't there? I think the Dagenham Redbridge striker was coming back from an offside position, not going to play the ball, and that resulted in a bit of a misunderstanding between the two Notts players. I think Rawlinson just showed a bit of frustration, went through everything, cleared them all out, and conceded the free kick. And a little bit lucky not to get a yellow card as well. And
Notts have just been a touch careless in possession over the last 3 minutes or so, getting caught in areas that they have no business getting caught in. There's another lax pass and a bit of miscommunication. Bakayogo now forced back to Sam Slocum, and they could do with somebody going down and having a couple of minutes on the floor so Notts could then regroup and try to prevent this momentum which is building in the sort of favour of the visitors over the last, as I say, 3 to 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's more a reaction to the goal, isn't it? I think Dagenham have just slightly come out a little bit more, as they have to. And Notts now just a little bit wary of what they actually need to do in terms of, are they still being patient, passing the ball, which they are doing. They're doing it reasonably well. But like you say, 1 or 2 slack passes, and then all of a sudden Dagenham are back on you, and they've thrown 1 or 2 men forward more than they have done in the opening half hour.
Sean Shields will go into one in the middle of the park with Robinson, but it's the Dagenham man that gets there first, and the team in yellow have the ball on the right wing. Wright tries to get the other side of Booty, and he does, and here's a 1-2, and there's a bit of danger here as Dagenham and Redbridge play the ball into the 6-yard box. It's a really good last-ditch tackle from Rich Brindley, who prevents Quigley from tapping the ball into the net. But again, Notts, as they try to clear it away, they've given possession away once more. The danger not gone just yet. Brindley there once more. He's played it off the back of his own teammate, then gets clattered. Referee has given a free kick. For a moment, I didn't think he had done, and Balanta was going to belt the ball goalwards, but Richard Brindley to the rescue. Yeah,
it was a fantastic interception. Spotted the danger, tucked in, covering round inside the 6-yard box, and it was him that prevented the Dagenham striker from tapping the ball into an open goal from about 5 or 6 yards as they broke down the right-hand side. Third man running, it was McQueen, I think, getting round the right-hand side to the byline. Notts player's been attracted to the ball, and as he tried to pick out his teammate, as I say, Brindley was across and intercepting the danger. But 1 or 2 moments of panic a little bit just there in the Notts penalty area. Just, as you say, just need to settle the game down again, get back to having possession in the opposition half.
Booty gives the ball to Thomas, gets it straight back again. That's neat play on the edge of the penalty area, surrounded by yellow shirts, but he does enough to get it to Baldwin on the right wing. Is that going to be a corner? No, he does just about enough, does the left fullback Liam Gordon, Guyana international, to put the ball out on the near side for a Magpies throw right next to the corner flag. Mitchell Rose will slowly wander across to come and take this one. Back with you on the terrace on Friday evening, myself and Robin Chipperfield from 6 o'clock until 7. And then it's match day on Saturday from 1:30. Notts against Torquay and Mansfield against Oldham. Here comes a long throw from Rose in at the near post. It's bounced along the 6-yard box. Carl Wootton gets his head on it, but could never get enough power behind that connection in the end, and it goes straight through to the goalkeeper. Yeah,
3 or 4 men in front of him went for the header. Nobody got any sort of contact on it, and as he says, it bounced up. There's no pace on the ball for Carl Wootton to well, turn his header goalwards, but easy for Justin in the Dagenham goal.
Dagenham have the ball once more inside Notts territory. Very much been on top for the last 10 minutes or so. Ball turned round the corner from Balanta. I think his teammate who he was aiming for would have been offside, but the ball never reached him, and it's now at the feet of Harold Odomati. Turns out onto the right-hand side, gives it to McQueen, who's immediately dispossessed by Regan Booty. He and Mitch Rose exchanging passes, and the Cop getting a little bit antsy as they continue to play the ball around, about amongst themselves in a dangerous area with players in yellow lurking. Mitch Rose controls it and might just be dispossessed. No, Notts will ride their luck and win a couple of challenges and keep hold of the ball. Play it forward to Wes Thomas, but it's becoming a bit of one-way traffic this at the moment, and the visitors are enjoying their best spell of possession in this game so far. We've played 38 minutes. Notts continue to lead by a goal to nil that they got inside the 24th minute. Down this left-hand side they go with Graham. Gives it back to Robinson, who's going to shoot. And that's straight out of my top draw. He nearly hit the corner flag. And here's the sarcastic whistles.
Yeah, I'll have a slice of that shot as well. And cut right across. Here's Robinson nearer the corner flag than it was the goal. But you've just seen Notts win the ball back, 25 yards out. Mitch Rose and Regan Booty just playing little passes between themselves. And that just indicates to me that when you go 1-0 up, all of a sudden the dynamic, your mentality changes. That, yeah, we're passing the ball, we're keeping it, but we've sort of forgotten what we were doing in terms of looking forward with your first pass. Now it was a case of just, we just keeping the ball for keeping the ball's sake, and eventually somebody gets closed down, gives the ball away, and Dagenham are pressing the ball higher up as well. So you've still got to make sure your first look is forward through the lines. Just because you've got a 1-goal lead doesn't mean you come away from it.
It goes back to that debate about stats, and that stats can tell you whatever you want them to tell you, really. At times you can go, oh, so-and-so has a 90% pass completion rate. Well, what are those passes doing? Are they just between his mate in the back four?
One thing I'll always say about stats is they'll never tell you things like, reading the game, decision making, things like that. You'll never find a stat for that, but it's vital in football, and obviously reading the situation of the game as well.
And come with the ball again through right, down the right wing. First time cross into the penalty area. Slocum comes and just about gets enough to it. It falls to Graham. First time cross back into the penalty area. Lands on the head of Joe Quigley once more, who loops his header up into the night sky, and it falls rather comfortably into the gloves of Sam Slocum. We've played 40 minutes, 5 to go until half-time. Not still a goal up here, and Notts continuing to waste possession and not really put their best foot forward, and they've done that for the last 10 minutes.
I don't mind that though from Ben Turner. I think Sam Slocum rolled the ball to him inside his own penalty area. Period of possession again. I'm talking about reading the situation of the game. I know it's not what Neil Ardley wants them to do. They're trying to play out and build from the back, of course, but there are times when you've been under the cosh a little bit, just put your foot through the ball, turn the team around, get up the pitch and start playing in the opposition's half again. And Ben Turner tried to do exactly that, put it out for a throw-in inside Dagenham's half, and as a result, where are we now? Well, Notts were in possession in the Dagenham half until Mitch Rose gives it away. Yeah,
it's now with Odomati, who plays it out to the right-hand side for Will Wright, who used to be at Colchester. He gives it back to Onoriesi. Back into the midfield for Robinson once more, plays it through the lines and finds Belanta, who turned and shifted the possession before he even knew what his options were. Ben Turner stepped across and took control of the play for Notts when he perhaps should have left it for the goalkeeper instead. He apologises, but he says, well, look, at least I took control, and it's going to be a throwing on this near side. Wotton comes across, puts it out for second throw in quick succession. Less than 4 minutes to go until the break now. Not still a goal up, still a goal to nil at Field Mill as well between Mansfield and Crewe. The Stags in the lead there. First time cross into the penalty area as well, cut out by Turner. It was Gordon with the cross, and then Rose plays Brindley into trouble. Brindley clears it away down the right hand side, and the ball has hugged the touchline all the way up to the halfway line, where Dagenham and Redbridge now have a throw, and Notts need to get a bit of space between their last man and their 18-yard box, because they're being pinned in ever more so as we dwindle our way towards half-time. It's with Kroll plays it forwards, well cut out by Rose, the Notts skipper, who takes the armband for an 8th time this season. He's captained Notts in all of the games that Michael Doyle has missed through suspension, and Rose now gives the ball away in an ominous position. They approach the edge of the penalty area. There's a shot goalwards, and it curls past the post. It was from the Colombian Angelo Belanta, and Mitch Rose thanks his lucky stars that didn't end the other side of the net.
Yeah, he does a big sigh of relief from Mitch Rose. Two sloppy passes the last 2 times he's had the ball, and on that occasion a square ball inside his own half, giving the ball away, and it ended with Belanta on that inside right, just getting it onto his left foot and trying to bend one into the far corner. It had Sam Slocum going full stretch. He didn't know whether it was going inside or outside the post. Fortunately for Notts, it's gone the right side from their point of view and out for a goal kick, but real sloppy play. And that's, like I say, you read the situation of the game. Maybe it's time for Notts now, with 43 minutes on the clock, just to put the foot through the ball, play the percentages, put the ball into the corners. You have to understand sometimes that, that's not how you want to play, but in the last 5 or 10 minutes, Dagenham have got a head of steam up. You've got to quell that now. At the minute, the boot should be on the other foot. It's got to be difficult for Dagenham to break Notts down.
It's with Gordon, who's cut in from the left wing, the left fullback has, and he's weaved his way thanks to a couple of passes back out onto the left-hand side. Graham with a first-time cross looking for Quigley, cleared out onto the far touchline. Right now will play the ball back in the opposite direction, and that goes beyond everybody, and now McQueen will try to keep it in. He does just about. Another ball into that Notts penalty area. It's cleared away by Rawlinson. Under siege a touch at the moment. Wes Thomas is the outlet furthest up the pitch for Notts, and he controls it. Sean Shields free through the middle if Enzio chose to see him, but instead they go back and they keep hold of possession, and while the Notts fans might not like it, it might be the smart thing to do.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where sometimes football fans need to understand what's going on. They've kept possession, gone from one side to the other, and it's just taking the sting out of the game a little bit. But it's not all like a hurly-burly of a kids' game where you want them to run forward at every opportunity. When you've been under the cosh, sometimes you just have to try and slow the game down. Even when you're at home, even when you're winning 1-0, if the away team's having a good spell, you've got to try and nullify that somehow.
Neil Cox, the assistant manager, stands with his hands shoved into his pockets on the edge of the technical area. It's his birthday today. And it's with Robinson, plays the ball forward, looking for McQueen, who's come into a much more kind of central role as Dagenham have come out of that rigid 4-4-2 and seem to have switched the shape around a little bit in the dying moments of this first half, where Slocum gives the ball to Rawlinson and Notts will look to play themselves out from the back.
Yeah, say patience, that's fine, that's what they were doing at the start. It's just exactly what Dagenham want. Notts fans getting a little bit impatient with it, you know. They want them to go forward. You've got one, go and get a second is obviously what you want, but it's not as simple as that. Football just isn't that simple.
We've played the 45. The linesman on the near side is the fourth official is a bit slow on the uptake. We've got 2 minutes that are going to be added on this conclusion of the first half. That's neat from Balanta down the left-hand side, tries to turn Rawlinson, but the Welshman gets back, stays with him, meets him stride for stride, and then plays the ball off of him and up the pitch, where a combination of Baldwin and Thomas try to clear the lines down the Notts right. It's back with the yellow shirts of Dagenham once more, though, although they're deep in their own half as we speak, and Honorary AC has been sent back to his own goalkeeper, Elliot Justin, who conceded inside the 24th minute thanks to a Regan Booty free kick curled into the bottom corner. Rawlinson wins a header, and the visitors are back in possession once more on the halfway line. Sean Shields with a loose touch, almost slips, almost loses possession, in fact now does, and he's lost possession quite a few times in this first half on the far side, and Dagenham and Redbridge continue to push for an equaliser. We've played a minute of the 2 added on, and Shields has now given away a free kick on the edge of the Notts penalty area, which might lead to a shooting opportunity. Very quickly, Jake, there's been a goal at Field Mill. Thank you very much, Jake. Thank you, Jake. Meanwhile, McQueen is going to be the man who will take this free kick for Dagenham and Redbridge. It's going to be pretty much the last action of this first half. With his right foot to the right-hand side. He's about 3 or 4 yards out from the edge of the penalty area and maybe 10 to the right-hand side. So he could shoot with his right foot, but may opt for the cross instead. Referee blows his whistle. Plenty of men in the mix there as he shoots. It hits the side netting and goes behind for a goal kick. For a moment there, my heart was in my mouth, and that should pretty much be it. Yes, it is. Half-time whistle is blown here at Meadow Lane. Slocum in goal, Brindley at right full-back, Bakayoko at left-back, Conor Rawlinson and Ben Turner in the middle of defence. Shields on one wing, Baldwin on the other, Booty and Rose in the middle of midfield with Wootton and Thomas up front. As for the visitors, Dagenham and Redbridge, Elliot Justin's in goal, Will Wrights at right back, Liam Gordon at left back, Kroll and Honorary AC in the middle of defence. In the middle of midfield, it's Odomati and Robinson as a break-off, because McQueen, who started on the right-hand side but is now playing a touch more centrally, which is what he did to end the first half, was nearly through on goal. Brindley on the far side tries to scramble the wall away and wins a throw-in. McQueen's in the midfield, although, as I say, playing a bit further forward. Bagasan, Graham, and then there's Joe Quigley, who's the big target man, with the Colombian Angelo Balanta. On the right-hand side, Notts have the ball with Baldwin. Tackle made in the middle of midfield by Odomati, sends the Dutchman scrambling to the ground, but Notts have it back with Mitch Rose involved, who does well. Does the Magpies skipper to win possession back for Notts. They take the free kick quickly, and they have possession defensively with around a minute and a half gone in the second half. How do they find the right balance, Mark Stella? They're a goal up, a goal that they got through a Booty free kick 24 minutes into the game. How do they find the right balance then in this second half between enough urgency to keep the Dagenham and Redbridge team feeling as though that they've got something to fear, and not then just doing what they did once they had scored in that first half, which is, you know, meaningless passes in areas of the pitch that aren't really necessary, and dithering generally on the ball as Shields has it on the left-hand side and drills across into the keeper's gloves.
Yeah, well, I mean, the obvious answer is you come out, pretend it's 0-0 and go about your business as you did at the start of the first half. But that's too simplistic, because Dagenham are going to present a different offering than they did at the first 20-25 minutes of that first half up until the goal. They've got to come out a little bit more, and I think, you know, they're going to try and start higher up, Dagenham. They're going to try and get on the ball a little bit more. They're going to try and get Notts' faces higher up the pitch than they were in the first half. So they've got to be equal to that. But as I said in the first half, your first look is always got to be forward. Try and get it into the Notts strikers as much as possible, and then it's almost like a territorial game. You force Dagenham back towards their own goal, so they've got 80-90 yards to come when they do win the ball back.
Well, they've got a free kick around 10 yards inside the Notts half on the right wing. Wright takes it, plays the ball up in the direction of Quigley inside the Magpies penalty area, but they clear it away easy enough. It's now with Robinson, the number 12, plays it onto the left wing, and Bagasan Graham takes over for the Daggers. He's closed down by two players and forced back up the touchline, and it's going to be Gordon who plays the cross into the penalty area instead. But Sam Slocum shows a safe pair of hands as he catches that one at the back post. Yeah,
that's it. Good hands from Slocum, and that's invaluable. As Mitch Rose takes an eternity to make his mind up what he's going to do with the ball.
Now Enzio's caught just inside his own half, and that'll be a free kick to Notts. That was one of the things that they started to fall into the trappings of in that first half, particularly in the last 15 minutes of it. There was just a lot of time spent over passes that previous to going in front they weren't really given a second thought to.
Yeah, the one thing you've got to do throughout the game, no matter what the score is, of course, is work hard when you're out of possession as well as in it. You know, you can't just think, well, we're ahead, we can swan around, keep the ball, and sort of drop down a gear at the pace you're playing at. Of course, when you've got the ball, yes, you want to be composed on it. Out of possession, Notts have got to be like Dagenham were for first 15 minutes or so, where they were almost impossible to try and break through. They've got to frustrate the opponents.
Bakayoko gives the ball away as he was looking for Shields. Wright intercepts, and now Robinson's occupying quite a lot of space inside the centre circle. Finds Graham, who's got the overlap of Gordon, and goes back inside to Robinson once more. 4 minutes gone inside this second half, and Notts continues to lead Dagenham and Redbridge by a goal to nil. Neil Cox and Ardley on the edge of their technical area, much more urgent and animated than what they were in the first half. Meanwhile, Peter Taylor, their opposite number, stands with his hands in his pockets, thoughtfully thinking about what his team are going to do in these early stages of the second half. Here come Notts though, with Wes Thomas down the left, gives it to Shields, closed down by Odometi, and the two Notts players really kind of getting in each other's way as Ben Turner makes a good tackle on Quigley, and Notts have it back once more with Shields. He gets away from one, gives it to Thomas, who had little option, and Notts concede possession once more. 50 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, that's exactly what they can't do, give the ball away as easily as they've done there between the two of them. Wes Thomas and Sean Shields got to retain the ball better than that, and like I say, occupy Dagenham in a defensive position.
Shields turns away from Odometi up into the direction of Thomas, who, thanks to a bit of a deflection, finds his strike partner Kyle Wootton, but he's immediately pounced on by two yellow shirts, and Dagenham and Redbridge have the ball away once more from the edge of their own penalty area. 1-1 between the Stags and Crewe, that goal coming right at the death really. The end of that first half, an equaliser for Crewe after Mansfield had taken the lead much earlier on. It's now with Shields here on the left-hand side. Referee playing an advantage. He flicks his cross in. Header met by Wootton. Finds the goalkeeper's gloves once more. Yeah, decent ball in from Sean Shields with his right foot playing on the left-hand side, so an in-swing in. And Carl Wootton just gets across the nearest defender. A little flicked header. Just can't guide it into the far corner, only into the hands of Justin. Thomas is in possession as he tries to get away from Bagasan Graham, who seemed like he got shoved in the back by the invisible man just a few moments ago. Yet another player to lose their footing here this evening, and picking up on that, Thomas then turns and surged towards the edge of that Dagenham and Redbridge penalty area, and as he went down, he got the free kick, and Notts, with Regan Booty, will look to double their lead, and Booty will look to double his tally from free kicks this evening. This one's a bit further out than the first one because of the angle. It's a bit further out to the right hand side. It's maybe 5 yards further from goal, but it's still in a very good and dangerous opportunity and area for Notts and Booty to give Elliot Justin something to worry about.
Well, this is that further, 5 yards further out that you would say does give him the option of going up and over the wall, being able to get it up and down in time. So we'll see which way he goes, but you'd feel it does favour the left footer as well.
Yeah.
From that slightly, 5 yards to the right of centre, and probably about 25 yards out. You'd fancy Regan Booty be the man to take it after his goal in the first half.
Indeed, Enzio stands there as well. We've played 52 minutes, Notts lead by a goal to nil. And Regan Booty with his left foot strides forwards. He does hit this one, but it always kind of looked like it was going to go a couple of yards high and wide of Elliot Justam's goal, and it will be a goal kick.
Yeah, and he did try and go up and over the wall, went the other side, tried to put it over the wall and to the side that the keeper wasn't covering. But as you say, just got too much underneath it. It was never going to come down. A little bit too floaty of an effort. Once it needed to be a little bit more whip on it to trouble the Dagenham goalkeeper, as it is. Goal kick to Dagenham.
Here they come down the left-hand side with Belanta. Brindley had fallen and is out of possession. Now with Gordon, first time crossing to the penalty area after he faked the initial ball. And the Magpies clear it away, albeit only briefly. Straight back to the visitors once more. The Daggers have the ball on the left-hand side yet again. It's with Gordon, first time cross is blocked by Richard Brindley, and it goes out for a throw-in on the far side. Lots of games kind of fallen back into a fairly similar pattern, albeit with some slightly better distribution in the early stages of this second half as to what it did at the end of the first, with Dagenham and Redbridge pushing hard for an equaliser. Throwing on the far side of the ground in front of what is a largely empty Jimmy Cyril stand this evening. There's a spare man for the Daggers, has space to pick out his cross, tries to find the man at the back post, headed away, falls to right, who hits it on the volley from around 30 yards first time, going wide, but drew a diving, attempted save from Sam Slocum away to his left-hand side. 54 minutes on the clock. Still 1-0 to Notts County. Chesterfield have got a goal. Excuse me, Sam.
Sorry, I was just going to say it was always worth an effort, you know, a speculative effort at that, but on the volley from 30 yards out, but on this zippy surface, if he hits the target, that would have asked questions of Slocum, who was, you know, scurrying across his goal. Fortunate to watch it go a yard wide of his post, but again, shows that increased Dagenham attacking intent already in the second half.
So Chesterfield have got a goal at Fylde. It's 1-0 there to the Spyrights. 3-0 to Aldershot over Dover. Barrow are 2-1 up still against Boreham Wood. It's with Robinson here, meanwhile, as he weaves his way and passes it to the Guyanan Gordon. Down the left-hand side he goes and tries to win a corner kick, which he does successfully. And that is the Daggers' second corner of the evening. 1-1 between Eastleigh and Maidenhead. 4-1 to Torquay at Ebbsfleet. Torquay come to Meadow Lane in a game that you can hear on BBC Radio Nottingham this Saturday in match day. Goalless between Halifax and Chorley. 1-0 here, as I say, 1-0 to Solihull against Sutton, and it will be an in-swinging corner from the far side with the right foot. Slocum can catch that, but punches it away nonetheless, and Wes Thomas gets onto the ball on the left-hand side. The ball ricochets handily for Thomas and knocks her off on the counter-attack. Regan Booty forward, so Sean Shields. Wootton trying to join the attack, as is Enzio Baldwin. He needs support, does Thomas, and so he goes back to Zamana Bakayogo and back out to Thomas once more on this left-hand side. He's got a neat, quick little turn, and a turn of pace still, does Thomas, given that he's 32 years old. Still has that in his locker, and now Ben Turner plays a lovely sweeping 60-yard Hollywood pass out to Rich Brindley on the right-hand side. Now it's the Dutchman, Enzio Baldwin, on the ball, approaches the edge of the penalty area. Here's a shout of "Go on, Enzio," from the Derek Pavis stand. In fairness, he might not have heard it from the far side, but I did, and it's about as good as it all got, because Brindley's cross was blocked, and it's back with the Daggers once more.
Yeah, just fizzled out, didn't it? It looked for a minute like Notts were able to spring the counter-attack with a 3-on-2, but Dagenham got enough bodies back, and Notts opted again just for the safe option of keeping the ball. Not necessarily the wrong option in that case. You know, sometimes you can go for the wonder pass and give the ball away, and, you know, you're immediately back under pressure. So at least they retained possession. You know, didn't come to anything, but it did just mean that they got forward and took Dagenham back towards their own goal. Say, all this chasing the ball that Dagenham have had to do, certainly early in the first half, you know, and the longer Notts can keep possession, it takes it out your legs for when hopefully they're going to need to push on. Well, Notts are still ahead in the last 10 or 15 minutes of the game.
Notts can see possession on the edge of their own penalty area, but Shields makes a good sliding tackle to briefly halt the Daggers' progress, although they're back with it once more with McQueen, who floats across into the penalty area, falls to the edge of that 18-yard box now. Notts players are giving it the after you, Maud, after you, Claude treatment, and all of them waiting for another one of their teammates to clear it away. In the end, they get fortunate in that the ball deflects into the path of Sam Slocum, and he has the ball at his feet. Meanwhile, Neil Cox and Ardley turn to their substitutes bench, and it would appear as though they're talking to one of the players about tactical instructions as to what they expect out of them once they are introduced into the fray.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early in the second half, but I'm already looking, and I think Neil Ardley will be pleased to be turning around and looking at some experience on that bench tonight, you know, in the shape of Michael Doyle, Christian Dennis, Nathan Tyson, you know, players that have been in these situations, seen it all before, as well as the other options of Pierce Bird and Sam Osborne. But I think he will be pleased to see that sort of experience on the Notts bench. Well,
Michael Doyle and Christian Dennis are both warming up away to our left-hand side in front of the Kop as we speak. 3-0 to Yeovil against Woking tonight at Hewish Park. They continue to go well. 1-0 to Wrexham against Harrogate. That completes the latest scores as the ball goes into the Notts penalty area from the far touchline from Bagasan Graham. Easily dealt with by Conor Rawlinson. So far this evening, Turner and Rawlinson have managed to find a head, or a boot or a knee or something to most things that have come into their penalty areas. Now with Robinson, down the left they go yet again, and Balanta, I think if I was a Dagenham Redbridge fan, I'd feel a little bit hard done by there. Down went Mitchell Rose inside the penalty area looking for a free kick, and the Colombian gives the referee an angry look as he gives Notts a free kick. He would have got to the ball and got there ahead of the byline as well, and referee Samuel Barrett hears a chorus of "you don't know what you're doing" from the maybe 110 or so Dagenham and Redbridge supporters. Christian Dennis is going to come on for Notts in a moment. He is stripped, and it's an interesting one. I kind of assumed that Michael Doyle would have been the first change off the bench, but maybe he's seen something. Maybe one of the strikers is just struggling a little bit with an injury. But Michael Doyle is stripped as well. There we are. So it's going to be a double change for Notts in the next few minutes. You think it's the right call? Around an hour gone?
Yeah, I think it is. Certainly, you know, just with the way that the game's going, I think Notts have been a little bit sloppy again in this second half. It wouldn't surprise me if he takes one of the wide men off, and brings Doyle on and maybe plays a slightly narrower 4 in the middle of the park, because Dagenham are having too much of the ball at the start of this second half, and I think it probably does just need a change.
Well, here comes the change now. I think I can see Shields' number on the fourth official's board, but before the referee could blow his whistle, play is back underway, so they'll have to wait just a moment for that change to be made, because Dagenham and Redbridge have the ball once more. Just inside the Notts half with Angelo Balanta. Wright's on his bike down the right-hand side. It goes to Odometi. And now to Wright. On the right wing. It's closed down by Bakayoko. It was cleared away at the near post by Ben Turner. And Notts will try to maintain a bit of possession up near the halfway line. Can't do so, though. And it's the yellow shirts of Dagenham that have it once more. Now Notts have it with Wes Thomas. Gives it to Bakayoko, who smacks it off the back of Balanta. And now comes the change. Dennis will come on, as will Michael Doyle. Doyle making his comeback from a 4-game suspension. He saw red against Halifax here, and off goes Sean Shields. On comes Michael Doyle, who will jump straight into the middle of the midfield, go and get his captain's armband off of Mitch Rose, and no doubt bring that added bit of concentration and intensity and organisation into the middle of the midfield. Meanwhile, the other change sees Dennis come on and Wes Thomas go off.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly standard sort of swap. I expected that. I think Regan Booty's just going to move a little bit more to the left-hand side, but he's obviously more of a natural midfield player than a winger than Sean Shields is, so it just tightens up that midfield a little bit. Again, in response to Dagenham having a little bit too much of the ball, and the straight swap, Christian Dennis has come on for Wes Thomas. So straight swap up front. The ball hasn't stuck probably enough, and Christian Dennis, having scored on Saturday, will get half an hour tonight.
61 minutes on the clock here. Check in with Jake in a moment to see how The Stags are getting on against Crewe. It was 1-1 at Field Mill last time we checked in. Dagenham are in possession once more. Doyle quickly in front of his man McQueen to try and put some pressure on him, but they work it out wide to the right hand side, and there's a nodded header down into the forward run of McQueen, but Slocum will get there first. Let's check in with Jake. Thank you, Jake. You're listening to Match Night on BBC Radio Nottingham as Mitchell Rose buys a free kick inside his own half. Just to point you in the direction of the BBC Nottingham Sport Facebook page. Loads of content always going on there, breaking news, but also exclusive interviews and other little bits and bobs and features. For instance, there's an extended interview at that with the Nottingham Panthers head coach Tim Wallace on there with some bloke called Chris Ellis. That's well worth a look if you've got the time. Meanwhile, The Terrace is back with you on BBC Radio Nottingham on Friday evening between 6 and 7 ahead of Match Day, which is on your radio from 1:30. Full commentary on Notts against Torquay and updates on the Stags against Oldham in League 2. Dagenham and Redbridge about to make a first change themselves, but not just yet, as the Magpies try to find Christian Dennis, who's come on with plenty of energy, plenty of confidence as well, given that he got his 5th goal of the season on Saturday, which is already more than his total for all of last season. And Ben Turner is on the ball, gives it to Michael Doyle. Just trying to get a sneak peek as to see who it is that's going to be coming on. Meanwhile, Enzio tries to sneak through the middle. Can he give it to Wootton? He should have done. He hasn't. He's got it himself, and he's put the ball over the top of the crossbar, and Wootton stares at the back of him as Enzio dare not look. If looks could kill.
Yeah, Enzio had in his hands, went for the shot, probably the right option in the end, but if you do that, you need to hit the target. And unfortunately, from the edge of the box there, from a little slotted ball through the middle from Christian Dennis, Enzio 18 yards out, just gets underneath his right-footed finish and puts it about a yard over the top of Elliot Justum's goal and into the cop when, I say, Kyle Wootton would have been screaming for the pass. But I think Enzio's right. He's middle of the goal, edge of the box. Yeah, he's got every right to pull the trigger there.
64 on the clock. Change made by Peter Taylor, and it's Joe Quigley who's made way for Rhys Grant, who's got a goal to his name so far this season. Used to be at Aldershot and Braintree. They've gone and kind of ditched the big target man approach that they had gone with for much of the game with Quigley, and perhaps a bit more pace going forward now. It's with Wright on the right as he goes back into the heart of defence for Onoriesi. 65 gone, and not still leading by a goal to nil, but Dagenham and Redbridge continue to put more and more pressure on that Notts defence. It's with Wright once more on that wide midfield role as he gets forward from right back. Doyle plays it first time forwards, up and long and over the top down the left channel. Onoriesi comes across and wins the header. Kyle Wootton charges down on Kroll and forces the error with the poor ball forward, and Notts have it back once more with Brindley, who now finds Conor Rawlinson on the right hand side. He is at the moment. The Welshman plays it up over the top. Can Dennis get there? Yes, he can, inside the penalty area. Can he shoot? No, he can't in the end. Onoriesi did just about enough to kind of almost fall on the ball, which killed any sort of power that Dennis had put behind it, and it was an easy picking then for the goalkeeper. 66 gone, still 1-0.
Oh, Christian Dennis will be annoyed with himself there. It was a ball forward from Rawlinson. I don't think he's looking for Dennis initially. It went over Wootton's head, and the bounce and zip off the surface took it through and maybe took the Dagenham defender by surprise. It found his way through to Christian Dennis on his left-hand side, just about entering the edge of the box, and just couldn't quite get his first touch out of his feet. Allowed Onoriesi to get back and blunt his shot, but if he could have got his first touch sorted, Christian Dennis, he would have had a clear shot at goal from, what, 10 or 12 yards out.
Elsewhere in the National League this evening, as Michael Doyle intercepts a Dagenham attempted attack. Here it's 1-0 to Notts. Still 1-1 in the EFL Trophy. But 2-0 to Chesterfield at Fylde. 4-0 to Aldershot at home against Dover, as Doyle's dispossessed in the middle of midfield, though he works to win it back once more. And Dagenham and Redbridge are going to make another change in a moment. Booty pushes the ball out of his feet but can't get on the end of it. Goalkeeper clears as it runs through to him. Turner goes down. He's kind of bundled to the ground, wrestled by Rhys Grant, who's trying to make up for the fact that he's about 6 or 7 inches shorter. And it's going to be a double change this time. Looks like Joan Luc is going to come on, and the other one down there is James Dobson. Coming off on the far side is Bagasan Graham. In fairness, it's a long way back to Mordor. And the other change this evening sees Alex McQueen come off, and I'm sure there's something we could do about his name as well, but never mind.
Yeah, a bit late for that. You're still going with that Lord of the Rings thing, are you? Yeah.
It's all I've got this evening.
Perseverance.
So, quite frankly, yeah, you know, I'm not sure it's going well, but it's all I've got this evening.
I'm certain it's not going well.
Thanks very much. Dobson on then, and Joan Luc as well, who came through Barcelona's La Masia Academy, which has produced so many great players over the years. Luke, no disrespect, you know, it's a bit of a come down from Barcelona to Dagenham and Redbridge. That's good play though through the middle, and they're onside as well. 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. Brilliant save from Sam Slocum, as Rhys Grant had a golden opportunity to equalise for Dagenham and Redbridge. That was an excellent kind of starfish Peter Schmeichel style save from Notts number 1.
Yeah, vital save. Sam Slocum, he made some vital saves on Saturday as well that probably didn't get the recognition that he deserved. But again, 1-on-1, Rhys Grant, what an introduction that would have been for him. Sprung the offside trap. Everyone looking at the linesman. Well, like I say, we debatable whether he was, but his flag didn't go up anyway. And going in that inside right channel, 1-on-1 with the keeper. Sam Slocum stayed big, managed to get his right foot out to block the ball. And Mitch Rose was able to complete the clearance, but a fantastic save. Again, vital goal-saving save from Sam Slocum.
Ball's with Dobson on the right-hand side. Another substitute. He shoots, and it's saved again by Slocum. He couldn't quite, because it took a deflection on the way through. Couldn't quite push it away to safety, but fortunately Ben Turner was close at hand, and he managed to scramble the ball clear. The visitors are getting closer. 69 minutes gone, still 1-0 Notts. Yeah,
they certainly are, and Grant, well, he should have scored, let's be honest. You know, I'm sure Neil Ardley and the Notts fans will be complaining about the lack of an offside flag. Like I said, we don't get replays, we don't get to see it again, but Grant was through. 1-on-1 with Sam Slocum, and Sam Slocum did exactly what the Notts goalkeeper is paid to do, and managed to make a fantastic save with his foot to prevent Dagenham getting an equaliser.
They're in the possession again, though, are the Daggers down the right-hand side. Grant battling with Turner. Turner's always going to win the physical one there between the two of them, and he clears it away down the Notts left-hand side. Attendance 3,670 are in here this evening, with 112 from Dagenham, so that is the lowest attendance at Meadow Lane since the 2016-17 season, when they played against Cambridge on a Tuesday night in November. It was that, in fairness, was considerably lower that night against Cambridge by almost 1,000, but yes, this evening's attendance of 3,670 is the lowest since then. And it's a goal kick meanwhile out on the pitch that Sam Slocum will take.
Yeah, the second half followed the same sort of pattern as the end of the first, hasn't it? Dagenham probably in the ascendancy, you would have to say. It's far more threat going forward. Makes you wonder why they didn't start out like this, because they've caused not problems, although not coming forward.
There's
here
an opportunity. Booty's going to hit it, and it stings the palms of the goalkeeper Elliot Justin, but does enough to keep it out and keep it out of harm's way from a Dagenham perspective. They're trying to work the ball down the right-hand side, and Brindley will nod it back to the goalkeeper Sam Slocum. Good effort from Booty, but just a touch too direct. Yeah,
that's it. From playing from that left-hand side now, 25 yards out, let fly with his laces. Unfortunately, straight at Justin in the goal, and he was able to sort of catch the ball and clear, but yeah, just too few and far between. Not able to get hold of the ball and string anything together, keeping Dagenham pinned back at all, although they're in the possession at the minute.
Yeah, Rose has got it, turns, but just a bit slow again on the uptake, Rose there. He seems to take an age to turn and realise that he had some space. And now Dagenham and Redbridge have the ball back once more. Ben Turner with a wild lunge, missed everything, including the man, and they've worked it out onto the right-hand side for Dobson, although his cross almost turned into a shot and hit the roof of the netting, and Les Brad, the club's all-time leading goal scorer, turns towards us and lets out a puff of big sigh and tension, I think, here as Notts are starting to live ever more dangerously.
Yeah, again, but sloppy play, Craig. Mitch Rose, since opening 25 minutes, since Notts took the lead, and a number of Notts players have looked a little less composed on the ball than they did in that opening spell, but he's really pondersome on the ball tonight at times, been caught in possession inside the Dagenham half. Just got to get back to doing two-touch. Michael Doyle, I expect, will be in his ear saying, Mitch, simple, just keep the ball, keep it moving, get your confidence back with your passing. It's almost like he's trying to sit there and be a playmaker, which isn't his natural game. Just breaking off as not trying to take a quick free kick. Yeah, not his natural game, Mitch Rose, to be the playmaker, dictating passes and spreading the play. So just get in there, a little bit of two-touch football, keep moving the ball on, and just get your confidence back in your touch and your vision. Do the simple things.
So Notts have got a free kick after Christian Dennis was kicked up into the air by Luke Kroll. It's about 10 yards outside of the penalty area, but out to the right wing. Wouldn't suggest that Regan Bootie's going to try and hit this one. 73 minutes on the clock, though. Big men are still forward. Turner's up there as the ball flashes into the penalty area now and straight into the gloves of the goalkeeper. It's a disappointing result to that one, and it's cleared away quickly. Bakayongo's there to win the header. Doyle there as well, and Notts will clear it back in the opposite direction down the left-hand side, and they'll now have a throw-in. Peter Taylor controls the ball, and Zumana Bakayongo will take his sweet time as he comes across to get it.
Yeah, 73 minutes on the clock, and that's another thing Notts need to do a little bit more. Play them channels. They're not being able to play the possession football that they got in the first 25 minutes, that first half. So play the channels, play the percentages, look to turn Dagenham round when you can, as they did there. Play it down the line, win a throw-in, and allows you to get forward.
It's going to be a Dagenham throw or free kick?
I think he's given a free kick, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think it is. It is, as Will Wright will take. Weird situation between Bakayongo on this near side and Odomati, where both of them thought the ball had gone out about 3 times, then realised it hadn't done, then engaged in a big 50-50 challenge. The ball still didn't go out, and eventually Dagenham managed to come away with it, and Bakayongo brought Odomati down. So this free kick will be taken by Will Wright. Made indications like it was going to go long, instead goes down the right touchline and finds James Dobson. Plays it across the midfield, it deflects and falls to Christian Dennis instead, who gets a shove from Michael Doyle after he nearly ran into him. And there's a ball first time down the left-hand side. Not a good header away, though, by Liam Gordon. And Notts have it. Mitch Rose has picked out the forward run of Rich Brindley on the far side as well. Brindley has it, tries to get inside the penalty area, but could never really generate enough pace to get around his man. And the referee's given a free kick that nobody wanted.
Cool, yeah, Notts will take that all day long. Richard Brindley just pulling the man back right by the byline and the Dagenham at the Dagenham end, just as the defender was playing the pass 20 yards into the gap vacated by Brindley and ready to launch a counter-attack. The referee blows for a free kick and brings them all the way back.
Here's Wright down the right-hand side, gives it into the middle to Grant, who's going to shoot with his left foot, draws a save out of the goalkeeper, pushes it back into the middle again, though, almost into the danger zone. Fortunately, Brindley there hits him in the midriff, and he has to slice it behind for a third corner of the game for the Daggers.
Yeah, Notts just living on the nerve ends a little bit at the minute. And what I will say is, look at the difference now between Notts defending when Dagenham are attacking them. The difference, you don't see 2 banks of 4 rigid quite how we saw Dagenham in the first half.
Swinging corner into the penalty area, headed away by Booty. Comes out though to Robinson, who doesn't get his shot away but does find Odomati down the right-hand side of the penalty area. Flashes his ball in. It's cut out and Michael Doyle will hook it away from inside his own 18-yard box. Dennis will give chase up towards the halfway line. Booty will come up with it as he tries to dance between 2 players. Gets his leg caught by Angelo Balanta, and that'll be a free kick. Meanwhile, Cox and Ardley are telling Pierce Bird to make his way back towards the dugout, and he will be their third and final substitution with 76 minutes on the clock, and them still desperately protecting the 1-goal lead.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a measure of how much pressure Dagenham are putting on at the minute, or Zumana Bakayogo's limping around. I'm not sure whether he's feeling the effects of a knock. So I'll just keep an eye on him. But again, I talk about Notts, Dagenham disciplined in the first 20 minutes or so. Them 2 banks of 4, no space. That's exactly how Notts have got to be when they're against the run of play at the minute.
Well, Magpies have got it on the right wing with Enzio. He's got a couple of men in front of him, dances around a little bit and rolls the ball under his foot, gives it back to Brinley. First time cross from him's a good one, falls to the back post. Oh, Wootton's unlucky, his shot's deflected. It had to go past about 4 or 5 bodies, 2 of which were wearing black and white shirts, before it fell to Notts' big number 14. But he did well to keep on top of it and was unlucky not to get a second goal.
Yeah, it was really good ball in with pace for Richard Brinley on the right-hand side, set up by Enzio. And Notts had 3 bodies forward there, just Carl Wootton unable to miss the Dagenham defender, who deflected it out for this corner from Notts attacking left.
Booty the man to take it. It'll be a left-footed outswinger. It's drilled in low along the ground and it's bobbled along inside the 6-yard box. There are shouts for a penalty, but Ben Turner's the only one who's shouting for them. It was a clever set play. Christian Dennis had been freed up. His first time effort went through a couple of bodies. It almost fell to Wootton once more, who fell on the ground. And that's all she wrote as far as that attack for Notts, but they were close to getting the second.
Yeah, real danger, and it was a training ground routine from the set piece, wasn't it? One of them where Christian Dennis runs from the back round to the penalty spot. The ball's all along the deck for him to sweep goalwards with his left foot. Makes a decent contact, puts it into the 6-yard box, could have fell anywhere. And Dagenham in the end eventually scrambled it clear.
Well, Pierce Bird is the man who's going to come on, and coming off was Zumana Bakayogo, and he does come off with a little bit of a limp and sees the physio as he makes his way to the dugout there, so fingers crossed he's okay, though Damien McCrory potentially back for this Saturday. But he's done well as Bakayogo since he's filled into that left back position. That's not a good ball though from Baldwin, gives it away in the middle of the midfield. Notts get men back behind the ball swiftly though, and it's out on the left-hand side. Not a good touch. That allows Brinley to come across and slap the ball out on the far side for a Dagenham throw. So Bird comes on, and how do they rearrange things defensively? It looks like they've...
Well, I think Pierce Bird's just gone in as a straight swap at left-back, hasn't he? I'm sure Regan Booty will be told just to maybe provide as much cover as possible, but yeah, Pierce Bird in at left-back.
Notts clear it away, the anywhere will do treatment, as Dennis does well, leading that line, and he's putting the pressure on the goalkeeper, draws a few oohs and ahs as he bears down on him, and they do get it away, though it's straight back to Rawlinson, who plays a ball forward down the right channel, and Wootton will lay chase to this one as well. Troll tries to find his left fullback Gordon and does just about enough to do that. We've got just over 10 minutes remaining here at Meadow Lane. It's 1-0 to Notts. They took the lead after 24 minutes. Regan Booty with a free kick that was won by Wes Thomas right on the edge of the penalty area. He curled it into the bottom corner of the net. Really good finish from the Notts number 15, who got his second goal as a Magpies player. Meanwhile, Pierce Bird just monitoring the situation closely. That's his first bit of involvement, really. Away to our right-hand side and close to the corner flag. He wins his side a throw-in in the process. And now we are into the edgy 80s at Meadow Lane. Notts looking to win, looking to close the gap on the playoff places for what it's worth at this stage of the season. They started the night 3 points outside of them. Wootton goes down, should get a free kick. Does get a free kick, no complaints from Manny Onoriesi, who used to be at Cheltenham and Rotherham. He was at Rotherham under Steve Evans, if I'm not mistaken, but only a kid then. Got him off of West Ham. And with Pierce Bird, who will take the free kick. Edgy 80s that it is, but do you feel a bit more confident with the experience that they've got out there in the likes of your Ben Turners and now Michael Doyle back in the middle of that midfield?
Well, certainly should do, although to be fair, it's not made a massive amount of difference. Dagenham have done well, but not, they're a little bit more solid, aren't they? That's the aim, and they're just looking for Wootton and Thomas as Enzio joined in. I was just about to say Wootton and Thomas to try and hold the ball up and allow Enzio to maybe get up there, whereas Regan Booty's going to sit. Enzio did get up there on that occasion, but with his left foot found about the 5th row of the Kop away to our left.
Yeah, do you know what he's managed to do? He's managed to get the ball underneath the segregation on the far side, which was actually very clever. Brilliant bit of game management. Because it's meant they've had to get a new ball on, which they did, sadly, quite quickly. 81 minutes on the clock. 1-0 here. Check in with Jake again shortly to see if the Stags have got another goal in them as they look to win back-to-back games. So with Dennis, tries to thread it through in the direction of Wootton. Got his pass all wrong, and it was intercepted by the Dagenham defenders, who immediately pile the pressure back in the opposite direction. Down the left they go. It's with Juan Luc, who causes an Ox player to fall, gets to the edge of the penalty area on his right foot, turns back out onto the left-hand side, and Gordon, with the first-time ball into the penalty area, is headed behind by Conall Rawlinson. Fourth corner of the game for Dagenham and Redbridge. Yeah,
again, Christian Dennis took the ball well in his stride, didn't he? Just tried to reverse pass into the run of Kyle Wootton, but it was a difficult ball. It'd been read by the defenders, and in hindsight, it'd been better off just keeping hold of the ball and allowing Notts to join in.
In swinging corner, in at the near post, it's flicked on, it's gone right across the goal line and just wide. That's a let-off. Yeah,
Luke Kroll getting across the near post. It was a ball fizzed in to the near post. He made that run beyond the near post, 6 yards out, glancing header. And thankfully for Notts, it wasn't on target, and there was no Dagenham Redbridge player gambling at the back post to tuck it in from a couple of yards out. Notts still living on the nerve ends. It wouldn't be Notts if they didn't.
Yes, indeed. Back in action against Torquay on Saturday. That a 3 o'clock kickoff down here at Meadow Lane, and you can hear it all on BBC Radio Nottingham. Match day with you from 1:30. Before that, the Terrace, which is at 6 o'clock on Friday evening. Myself and Robin Chipperfield. Ball up towards Kyle Wootton, 25-30 yards from goal. He tries to keep hold of it, almost does, despite the battle with Honoré. It now falls to Mitch Rose, who shoots, and tell you what, that one far wide. Maybe only 5 or 6 inches wide of the far post, and that nearly put the game to bed with 83 minutes on the clock. Just wide goal kick. Yeah, it was all along the ground, wasn't it? Across the goal with his right foot. Decent effort from Mitch Rose. Wasn't the cleanest of strikes, but again, ball picks up pace off the surface. And it was that the result of players slipping over. This time a Dagenham Redbridge player 25 yards out from his own goal. It's a knockout at this sort of stage. Sometimes the amount of players that are falling over, it can't be that wet on the surface, surely. Or, you know, maybe they don't do long studs these days. Maybe they don't do it's a knockout these days. Well, one for our older listeners. How's it called nowadays? Total wipeout? That's the one, yeah. Call it, right? I think even that's finished, isn't it? You might have done, yeah. Anyway. Ball on the right-hand side. First time cross from Dobson into the penalty area. Well claimed by Sam Slocum, who to this moment has had a very good game. One of those games where you wouldn't be surprised to see him. Don't mention it. Don't say anything. Nothing. Leave it. Aldershot are 4-0 up against Dover. It's 3-0 to Chesterfield at AFC Fylde. Barnet are losing at home against Bromley 2-1. Barrow are condemning Boreham Wood by the looks of things to a very long journey home this evening. It's 3-1 to Barrow there up in the Lake District. 2-1 to Eastleigh against Maidenhead. 4-2 to Torquay at Ebbsfleet. 0-0 between Halifax and Chorley still. 1-0 here, 2-0 to Solihull against Sutton, 1-1 between Wrexham and Harrogate, and 3-1 to Yeovil against Woking. Kyle Wootton battling hard with Odomati in the middle of midfield, and it's now with Rich Brindley on the right-hand side, level with the halfway line. His ball down that right wing hugs the far touchline, but stays in and finds a yellow shirt. That's neat from the visitors. Finds Odomati, who's able to surge through the midfield. He's going to pull the trigger from range, and he's stuck it about 30 yards wide. Jake Garner can tell us what's going on at Field Mill. Boy, I do miss the random penalty shootouts of an EFL Tuesday, EFL trophy on a Tuesday night. That wasn't a great effort from Odomati, was it? No, I say he doesn't look like a natural goal scorer, and you confirmed that while Jake was giving us that report by his goal tally for the season being 0. Yes, big fat donut. And that's his goal tally, not a description of him. He's not fat at all. It's with Enzio Baldwin inside the Dagenham and Redbridge half. He's going to have a run here at the right fullback. Perhaps he should have a run to the corner flag, but he won't. He comes back inside, gives it to Dennis! Get in! What a finish that is! Sticks his arms out wide. That should be it with 86 minutes on the clock. It's a beautiful curling finish that kisses off of the far post and into the net. 2 in 2 games for Christian Dennis. Both of them off the substitutes bench. Try and keep him out of the starting lineup on Saturday. Notts 2, Dagenham and Redbridge 0.
Yeah, fantastic finish from Christian Dennis. Good build-up play from Enzio. Just took the ball exactly as you want to do. First thought, run at the opposition defence. Got to the edge of the box. Maybe could have pulled the trigger himself. Didn't. Opted to roll the ball to his right-hand side. And Christian Dennis from about 22 yards out, with his left foot, almost sweeps it across his own body, bends it in off the far right-hand post, giving the goalkeeper absolutely no chance. Fantastic goal for Christian Dennis, and as you mentioned, 2 in 2 off the subs bench. And hopefully that means we can all breathe a little bit easier for the remaining 3 minutes plus stoppage time.
Yes, indeed, and you see the effect that it's had there immediately as Dagenham put the ball out for a throw-in on the far side. So Notts will have a throw just inside the visitors' half, and Neil Cox will have a happy birthday. Neil Ardley, very happy Tuesday night here at Meadow Lane as they make it back-to-back home wins. The last one was 2-0 and a clean sheet against Fylde. This one heading that way as things currently stand. In fact, that'll make it 3 home wins on the bounce. We spoke in the early stages of this season about making this place a fortress and how important it was to do that early, make it a place that teams feared coming to rather than look forward to because of the nice big stands and the fancy dressing rooms and playing surface. They are going about the right way of doing that lately. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Winning games is what you do. I mean, making a ground a fortress, you've got to win games, and you know they've been under the cosh a bit tonight. It's not been plain sailing, but it certainly looks like that's what they're going to do tonight.
Going to be a shot from range from Joan Luc, who sticks it well over the top of the crossbar. A couple of minutes left. Before this game, Notts had the 7th best home form in the National League. You'd imagine that will increase, and they'll I wondered how long it would be before we heard the chant of E-I-E-I-E-I-O, the Football League they go. It took a couple of minutes and about, 14 games.
Yeah. Is that technically right? Up the Football League? I don't know.
But yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, never mind. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic goal from Christian Dennis. Good to see him. I mentioned, that he probably is the most natural finisher that Notts have got, but that was, no simple finisher at all. But what he did do, swept the ball with his left foot across his body with a bit of whip, and it went in off the right-hand post as you look at the goal. So he put it across his body into the far side. Nothing Justin could do about, nothing any goalkeeper could do about that. It was a fantastic finish. And that's Christian Dennis's, is that 6th goal of the season?
Yes.
Certainly making a case to start the game on Saturday.
Well, we were talking about you and how much of a moaner and a whinger you were before the kick-off.
Yeah, but we do that every week, don't we?
No, that's just the car journey. There will be no keeping you out of that starting lineup now if you've scored 2 in your last 2 straight off the bench. But does the manager go, well, you look, why change a working thing? It's going so well. Yeah,
you'd certainly be in the changing room mentioning it, wouldn't you? But yeah, no, fantastic to see Christian Dennis, with a bit of confidence as well that he's going to get from these goals. If you want to do anything in any league, you need players who can stick the ball in the back of the net, and we mentioned Notts have potentially got 4 of them.
Well, 90 minutes is up. The 4th official has got his board in his hands, and I've spied that it says 4 minutes, so Notts have got 4 minutes to hang on to their 2-0 lead, which would be a 3rd straight home victory as Wootton flicks the ball on and Dennis tries to chase through the middle of the pack there, and he slide tackles and blocks the clearance. The referee rather harshly gives a free kick against him, and then he steps in front of the free kick to prevent it being taken. Just awaiting confirmation, but we think Notts might well be in the playoff places this evening.
I'm trying to work it out.
Go on.
I think it's on alphabetical order. Solihull Moors.
We'll take what we can get. Given last season, take what you can get. So yeah, Notts perhaps into the playoff places this evening, even if it is just because N becomes F before us.
It's because the goal difference is the same. Is they've scored the same number of goals, 24, and conceded 17. So goal difference is the same,
right,
and goals scored is the same. So I think it's alphabetical order that takes Notts 7th.
or they just draw straws or something like that.
Yeah. Let's hope it's not like this on the final day.
Yes, indeed, that will be a complicated one. 3 minutes of stoppage time remain. We've had the one. Important to be up and about in those playoff places at this early stage of the season. Is it significant just to kind of build the momentum, or no?
The win is significant. The fact that they've only lost one at home is significant. Beating a good team in Dagenham is significant. You know, the place in the table where you are in October, not so much.
Ball out wide onto the left-hand side for Dagenham. They're going to have a 5th corner of the game after Gordon's cross was blocked. A word for Notts defensively. This actually, I'll do this after the
I was going to say, let's wait about 2 or 3 minutes before we do that.
2 minutes of the 4 have now been played. It's an in-swinging corner. Plenty of movement inside that 18-yard box, and the ball bounces up in the air and would have gone wide, but Sam Slocum goes and claims it anyway, as the man of the match is now being read out. Ben Turner has got the man of the match, and it's not the worst of shouts, really, because they have been resolute at the back, which was what I was about to say before the corner was taken. Yeah,
I think him and Rawlinson, Brindley and Bakayoko, when he was on, were excellent. You know, really solid. Tells you everything, doesn't it? When you're winning a game 2-0 at home and one of your centre halves is getting man of the match, shows that they have been asked questions after that strange, I would almost say, first 20 minutes of the game where Dagenham showed absolutely zero intent of winning the game. They concede and then they have to come out, and they have asked 1 or 2 questions, but Notts have repelled them well. It's been nervy at times, it's been last ditch, but they've done everything that's been needed of them.
Michael Doyle on the ball, who was at the desired effect in the last few minutes of settling the game down. Just a minute of stoppage time now remains of the 4 that were added on. It's a very good win over a team that haven't lost in their last 11 games, going all the way back to the 13th of August. And you know, you hear so often as we make our journey around this country, so many rival fans, coaching staffs, players, commentators, they all say, oh, we wanted to get you early, because they all looked at the squad that Notts were putting together, and let's not get ahead of themselves as they concede another corner. But it does seem as though things have started to move in the right direction. There has been progress, and perhaps things have started to click a touch over the last, I mean, a month or so. Yeah,
definite progress, but we'll wait and see to the conclusion of this game to cover that, as Dagenham have got a corner from their left. 15
seconds remain of it. Enzio Baldwin with a rather simple header away at the near post. He's managed to flick on and out. It's over to the near side, the far from him. And that'll be a Dagenham throw. Whistles being blown by fans all over the stadium, but not by the man in the middle, the man in black just yet, as Gordon surges forward, tries to get a shot away, beats his man, now will shoot, it deflects, and that's going to go behind for yet another corner. When they had their 5th corner a few moments ago, I thought that'll be that. They won't have any more. They've had 2 more since then. They've had 3 corners in stoppage time altogether. 4 minutes are now up. They've nearly tallied 4.5. Only 4 were added. So this, you would imagine, would be the final action of this game. Ball into the 18-yard box once more. Slocum punches it away, gets his clean sheet, and a standing ovation all around Meadow Lane as Notts win 3 home games on the spin.